一番恐れるのはこの怒りがやがて風化してしまわないかということだ。
There's a fine line between justice and revenge. Justice, on one hand, is the notion of moral rightness based on ethics, quality, and law, while revenge refers to the actions someone takes in response to a wrongdoing that someone subjected you to. Whether it's something as minor as cutting you in line or as major as hurting those close to you, the feeling of revenge is something that we've all experienced in some form or fashion. And this is why countless media generally play to this well-understood concept. The revenge story has been told time and time again and is something that's pretty much become a staple in the storytelling space. Some of the most enjoyable, memorable, and breathtaking anime moments that I've experienced stem from the very notion of the revenge-driven story. Just to name the ones that come to mind are when Shikamaru defeats Hidan, avenging his fallen sensei and keeping the Will of Fire alive, and Roy Mustang getting revenge on Envy for the death of Maze Hughes. Normally, the story is structured in such a way where the villain is so irredeemably evil that we're genuinely happy when they finally get the justice that they deserve. These revenge moments in anime often carry a sense of joy and accomplishment once the deed is finally done. We feel as if the main character either overcame a massive hurdle or progressed even further through their character development that the author intended for them. But then, the reality sets in that revenge doesn't bring about long-term happiness. And no show does this better than how Hunter x Hunter treats its main character of Kurapika Kurta. So join me as we take a deep dive into the story of this scarlet-eyed hunter, analyzing everything from his first impressions, drive for revenge, where I believe his ultimate fate lies in the greater Hunter x Hunter story, and what we can take away from his legacy. If you enjoy content like this and want to see more videos similar to this one, consider subscribing, as I'm hoping to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, if not sooner. For those of you that are subscribed, you guys are absolutely amazing. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Upon first introduction to this character, Kurapika felt like the typical side character who was calm, collected, and could be relied on when the situation called for it. He's genuinely thoughtful, mature, and cares deeply for his friends. This is clear all throughout the initial episodes and throughout the events that take place during the Hunter exam arc. However, despite these things, there's a general undertone of a deeper trauma that's hidden beneath him. As quoted by Kurapika himself, "I do not fear death. I fear only that my rage will fade over time." We quickly learn that Kurapika is an Avenger character who is dead set on getting revenge for his fallen clan, the Kurta. And right away, this distinguished Kurapika from the revenge character I was so used to seeing. On one hand, you have this incredibly kind and thoughtful person who would put his life on the line for the sake of his friends, while on the other, there's a merciless monster who will sacrifice whatever it takes to achieve ultimate revenge on the group that took everything away from him. So based on this, let's answer the question of who is Kurapika Kurta? In essence, he's a man of mixed and complex morality. The juxtaposition between these different personalities serve to show us how complex the characters of Hunter x Hunter are right off the bat, and make us intrigued into how the story with Kurapika and his friends will ultimately end. Analogous to Gon and Killua, the younger duo of the four main characters, Kurapika and Leorio fill the role as the older, more mature half. But apart from this, the intricacies of their relationship are quite fascinating when you look into the nature of their characters. Being the first real relationship that we see of Kurapika during his time on screen, I think it's worthwhile to discuss them both and determine how their character arcs play off each other. On the surface, these two characters couldn't be less alike from one another. Kurapika is high-strung, focused, meticulous, and doesn't take any BS from the people he comes across. Meanwhile, Leorio is seen as lazy, greedy, and overly emotional to the point where he's made the comic relief character of the majority of the Hunter exam arc. But in actuality, Kurapika has the utmost respect for Leorio, as he's one of the most truthful, loyal, and compassionate characters in the entire series. Apart from this, their relationship ties in so beautifully to the motivations of the other. As mentioned by Leorio in the initial episodes of the series, he wants to become a doctor. Initially believing this to be for selfish reasons, we learn that his true intention is to help those who can't afford expensive treatment. On a similar note, we also learn that Kurapika was not present during the Kurta massacre because he was looking for a doctor for his sick friend Pyro. Both of their backstories play so well into what molds the other into the characters that they are, and that's why I believe they are two of the most intrinsically linked characters thematically throughout Hunter x Hunter's narrative. Their relationship leaves you asking questions like, what if Kurapika had a helpful hand when the time called for it? What if he had someone as selfless as Leorio? Maybe, perhaps, he would be less of the rage-filled monster he believes himself to be. Like I alluded to earlier in the video, Kurapika's motives tiptoe the line between justice and revenge, and there's no other arc that this is more prevalent in than the York New City arc. To me, this is where Hunter x Hunter truly took a turn from the optimistic and lighthearted shonen to a dark, ominous, and mature seinen-like anime. And just like the show's drastic turn in demeanor, we see the exact same with Kurapika's character as he's the focal point of this arc. At the beginning of York New City, we see Kurapika hellbent on destroying the Phantom Troop, but throughout the events that take place has an interesting change in perspective. This is highlighted in his climactic fight with Uvogen, the physically strongest member of the Spiders. Having the impression that the Phantom Troop were a bunch of merciless thugs who didn't care about anyone or anything, Kurapika was shocked to find that these monsters actually feel for one another. This is exactly why I think Kurapika's entire notion of revenge was challenged. What's incredibly ironic and I think beautiful about the nature of the York New City arc is that it clearly demonstrates that the Phantom Troop, and even more specifically its leader Crollo Lucifer, are everything that Kurapika isn't. While Kurapika goes off on his own and prefers to handle things alone, the troop prioritizes their group's preservation over everything else. Kurapika's goal of destroying the troop is a clearly thought out, meticulous, and deliberate plan, while the group of spiders simply do what they want when they want. Similar to the themes and ideas of the Chimera Ant arc, which blurs the line between good and evil, I found myself asking if there really was a hero or villain in the York New City arc. Kurapika's never-ending drive for revenge led him to disregard his friends, put them in danger, and lead himself further down the rabbit hole that he jumped into. And this all culminates with finding out that the troop is a lot more humane than he initially believed. Through Nobunaga's love for Uvogen and Pakunoda's sacrifice, Kurapika is left with his sense of morality shaken. Although the troop doesn't get a break by any stretch of the imagination for the atrocities they committed, Kurapika learned through his first encounter with the troop that they might not be as irredeemable as he initially believed. This leads him to an act of self-destruction that we finally get to see in the current arc of the story. And so we come to potentially the final arc in Kurapika's story, the Succession War. This truly feels like a culmination of Kurapika's character arc and what his character has been building up towards. With the Phantom Troop on board, Kurapika guarding one of Kakin's princes, and the fourth prince Tsoridnik happening to have a collection of scarlet eyes, it feels as if the stage is set for someone to lay victim to Kurapika's anger. The combination of these things just make it seem even more reasonable why this appears to be Kurapika's defining arc where he could exact his revenge. Or is that what Togashi wants us to think? One of the legendary mangaka's defining traits is to constantly subvert our expectations and create situations that we never thought plausible. Perhaps Kurapika will work with Crollo or part of the Phantom Troop to take down 4th Prince Tsoridnik and regain the scarlet eyes of his brethren. While the possibilities are nearly limitless, I believe Kurapika's story will end on a positive note. Whether it's defeating the Phantom Troop, killing Tsoridnik, or protecting 14th Prince Wobble, I believe that Kurapika will finally be at rest. Coming full circle from his quote in the first episode, I believe Kurapika will pass away on the Black Whale, finally with his rage at bay and his heart at ease. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And with that, I'll talk to you guys in the next one.